In this segment, we'll finish our discussion of Hobbes's view of human nature. So here's a question. Why should we have any government rather than none at all? Hobbes's answer is pretty straightforward. He says, in the state of nature, life would be solitary, nasty, brutish, and short. The state of nature is, by definition, any state with no government. Therefore, without government, life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. The point is, without government, life would be terrible. Why does that mean we should have government? Hobbes fills in the gap with a simple argument. He says that self-preservation is our fundamental motivation. Then he says, if self-preservation is our fundamental motivation, then we ought not endanger ourselves. Therefore, he concludes, we ought not endanger ourselves. Notice that the second premise of that argument moves from a descriptive claim, a claim about the way things are, self-preservation is our fundamental motivation, to a prescriptive claim, a claim about the way things should be. We ought not endanger ourselves. That's always a crucial moment in any moral or political philosophy. But it's a plausible claim, at any rate, that if life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short without government, then we ought to have some form of government. It doesn't tell us what form of government we should have. Hobbes provides a separate argument to get to that conclusion, although that argument harkens back to what he says about the war of all against all. But it does tell us we should have some government rather than none at all. Now let's look at Hobbes' view of violence in human nature. If Hobbes is right that in the state of nature, things would be as violent as he says they are, what does that mean for our first pass specification of the view that violence is part of human nature? Remember that first pass specification held this. There is a wide range of circumstances in which a large majority of humans will frequently behave violently toward one another, but a narrow range of circumstances in which even a significant minority of humans won't frequently behave violently towards one another. Well, if we're thinking about this in relation to what Hobbes just described, the war of all against all, then Hobbes would defend the following thesis. We'll call this thesis H. Thesis H holds this, that without government, there is a wide range of circumstances in which a large majority of humans will frequently behave violently towards one another, but a narrow range of circumstances in which even a significant minority of humans won't frequently behave violently towards one another. So that will be the thesis that's on the table when we say Hobbes says that violence is part of human nature. He's advancing H, the claim that without government, there's many circumstances in which we'll be very violent and few in which we won't. And Zinn will say that there's no evidence for that claim H. Now, one thing I want you to notice that we did is this. We started off with kind of a very unspecified dispute, the dispute about whether violence is part of human nature. And gradually, by defining what we mean by human nature, by defining what we mean by violence being part of human nature, and then looking at Hobbes' view that violence is part of human nature, we wound up with a rather more particular thesis that we can have under discussion. Often it's useful in debates to do exactly that, to hone in on a particular thesis and then make sure that any parties to the debate stay on topic, focus on that thesis, provide reasons for that thesis or reasons against it. Now, Hobbes' argument that there would be a war of all against all, if not for government, is his argument for this claim. And now we can see what Zinn has to say about it next time.